To get the live stream going.
I don't need to interpret.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Dominguez. Outside of the Walker Community Room. I want to extend an invitation for you all to please visit their table on your way out. A little bit about MEI. It was established to blend scholarly research with practical outreach efforts to create awareness on a national stage, while also making a real difference in the lives of individual Marshallese. Through educational programming, MEI promotes the cultural, intellectual, and historical awareness of the Marshallese people to facilitate intercultural dialogue that fosters positive social change. Manit Day is actually a month-long celebration for the Marshallese cultural values and customs in the Marshall Islands. While it's a month-long celebration, September 24th is the day reserved within the month to celebrate. In the Marshall Islands, Manit Day is celebrated differently in each island based on individual or different customs and practices from that island. Manit Day is celebrated to teach, showcase each individual island, and preserve Marshallese culture. In today's program, Manit Day panel discussion, panelists will discuss the history of the Marshall Islands, living in the United States after the nuclear testing aftermath, and the current state of the Marshall Islands. The first hour will be dedicated to a moderated conversation led by Paul, and the last 30 minutes will be reserved for question and answers, and that's more so for our in-person audience that's attending today. That time will be dedicated to you all if you have any questions. I'm going to now turn it over to Carl Nees from MEI.
Yakwe Olip. Yakwe. Jetmur. Huh? I just want to break the ice right there. Thank you for doing that. So my name is Nijeri. I was born and raised on the island, the capital city, Majuro. I moved to the state when I was 18 to the U.S. And I lived 10 years in Honolulu, and then I moved to Arkansas in 2010. And I've been here in Arkansas. Arkansas was the last place. Okay. My.
She is a comedian at heart.
Okay, not all the time. Thank you. Before we get started, we'd like to introduce our panelists and moderator. We will begin with Paul Swinton-Lucabo, our moderator right here. He's a comedian too. They don't let us together when we work because nothing gets done. So I'm going to put this here. All right, so I'll first with our moderator. I translate all this because I was going to in Marshallese, but they say no, so yay! So moderator is Paul Swinton-Lucabo, right here. He was born on the island. He's an islander. I have to read everything here. Raised in American. Was born on the island of Majuro, like me, and raised in the state of Georgia. I just know that now. He graduated from Harvard High School in 2010, attended NWAC in the fall of 2010, transferred to the University of Texas in 2013, and was married in 2014. He moved back to Arkansas in 2016 and worked for the Springdale Public School until 2019. So we stopped working together last year, or 2 years ago. He's now working for the sexual assault in Northwest Arkansas as an advocate for all the victims, and he's been there since. He also worked with us once in a while. So, yeah. Thank you. Rugagi Paul. Oh, he's also a pastor. I'm sorry. So we call him Rugagi Paul, Pastor Paul. And then I'll go along with my next panelist, Benedict Kabua Madison. Before he moves to Arkansas, Ozark Mountains, Benedict and his family live in a low-lying Republic of the Marshall Islands. They all moved to Springdale in 2001 to start a new life. He is working with Marshallese Educational Initiative as a project specialist for youth, climate, and nuclear issues. He has a lot of experience of working with younger Marshallese students and their families on projects to increase retention rates in school and to promote Marshallese culture and history and issues affecting his people. Okay, thank you. Then I'll go along with our Dr. Sheldon Triglum. Dr. Sheldon Triglum is a Marshallese family physician who joined the UMS Northwest faculty in August of 2016. He is an associate professor in family and preventive medicine and co-investigator in the Office of Community Health and Research and the director for the Center for Pacific Islander Health. He is the inaugural recipient of the Peter O. Collar, MD. I cannot say endowed share in health disparities. Okay, I need to. If I talk faster, I cannot say words. He also serves as a primary care physician at community clinic here in Springdale that serve the Latiers, Marshallese, and underserved patient population in Northwest Arkansas. Yay! Dr. Sheldon here. And then our next panelist is Albious Latier. Kotabim Komoltada. He's the handsome guy for N. Albious has worked for numerous organizations and agencies in Northwest Arkansas as an advocate for the Marshallese community, including the Workers' Justice Center in Springdale and Springdale Public School. He has campaigned at the national and state level for the restoration of Medicaid for the Marshallese community. His work with MEI includes collecting stories of Marshallese elders and of poultry workers who have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19 for 2 grant-funded projects. Currently, he's an outreach coordinator for the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Fayetteville. In this position, he has raised awareness and donations for Marshallese poultry workers who had experienced financial strain to the pandemic. And he's still working with a lot of families. So thank you for all you do. And last but not least, our Consul General, Eldon Aluk, is a Consul General in Springdale for the Republic of the Marshall Islands. He graduated from the Marshall Island High School in 1981 and went to earn degrees from Gonzaga University, Portland Community College, and George Fox University. He served in the United States Army and has worked as RFD, Publication LLC, the Oregonian. Ooh, nice. Northwest Family Service and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. How was that for the introduction? Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our panelists for answering our invites to be here and really talk about the issues and everything that we are facing, even before the pandemic and during the pandemic. So I hope you all enjoy, and I will give the mic to our moderator. Swinton.
Moderator. Hey, can we give it up to Carl and Diana? Thank you guys very much. So we are so excited to be here with you guys today. So basically, you guys already know what's going on. But before we start, I want to say Happy Manit Week. We celebrate our Manit Day on the very last Friday of every September, just so that you know. And we celebrate the whole. And so today, it's you know, as I was thinking about what's going on today, I'm just thinking about, you know, the two gentlemen right next to me and then the two gentlemen, you know, further out. You know, we have two different generations here. So with all these with all these questions that are about to be asked and the discussions that we're going to have, it's, you know, it blows my mind because I want to see the different point of views. As Carlos said, I was born an islander, raised an American, so I kind of have like an American point of view on things. So I'm sure that their point of views are going to be very different, but yet similar at, you know, at some point. So I'm excited for this. So with that said, I know I said we celebrate the Manit Week at the very last week of, well, not the very last week precisely, but the very last Friday of September. So since we're here celebrating Manit Week, what is Manit Day? What does it mean to you, and the significance of it to you personally? Why don't we start with you, Honorable Consulate? What is Manit Day to you?
Okay. All right. Before I take part, I would like to first thank God for this evening. I'd like to recognize and thank Fayetteville Public Library for hosting us. I'd like to thank my friends and colleagues here for agreeing to come tonight and discuss the topics tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody and welcome everybody for coming tonight. Manit Day for me, it means a day to reflect. For me personally, it's to think back about how I was brought up, how I was raised, and all the island ways where I used to play, all my relatives. Every time Manit Day and Manit Week comes, I like to think back about my home island. And for me this week, Manit Day week's really significant because I can see really how it changed. I've lived here for 40 years now, and I've seen it changing gradually as people come here and live longer. And you know, sometimes we forget you know, the basic things like what tribe are you from in the islands? What, you know, who are your relatives? So Manit Day and Manit Week is a day to come and reflect and mostly to, you know, thank God for this wonderful culture that we have as Marshallese. Because Manit describes us. It's what we are. And without Manit, we are nobody for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Consulate. But before we let the other panelists give a chance to answer this question, you mentioned something that's very, you know, caught my attention, is the clans. How important is it for a Marshallese person to know their clan? How would you think, you know, is that very important for someone to know their clan?
Well, I think it depends on that person. And for us that we live there, and for the elders, I know for my parents and my grandparents, it's very important because it's what links us to everybody. Okay. And like, for example, when I talked with Dr. Rickling here, you know, there are part of our clans that there are clans that we are same from. We are coming from the same clans in other ways. So clans really describe where you're from. And I know for a fact that maybe all of us Marshallese in here, there's at least one clan that we're all related to. So clans is
we have the here, and he grew up in the Marshall Islands, but I want to see this perspective of someone that actually grew up in the States. Can you describe the Manit Day and what it means to you and the significance of it?
Komolbo. First of all, once again, thanks God for this opportunity to be part of the panel. It's our custom, also a Manit, to start everything with God. And Manit Day or Manit Week, even though I live here most of my life, 24 years in Arkansas, Manit is part of who we are. And I remember growing up here, if I do something bad, my parents always say, "We won't judge Manit," meaning it's real. And we describe Manit. Manit is our custom. It's describe who you are, and also your food, what you eat, what you wear. So if you do those bad things in front of an elder, they will always say you're judging Manit. For example, I've been growing up hearing that many times if I do bad stuff. Meaning, if I go to the island and bring cooler of fish and take a picture of it and post on Facebook, always seeing my parent mad and say, "You're judging Manit because you're putting that on Facebook. Your elder will see it because you're eating, but you're not sharing your food with them." So that's a Manit also. There is a lot of describe on Manit. Time for us to share our custom with non-Marshallese. That's how I can describe it, because it's really important for our neighbor to know who we are and how we do stuff or how we live our lifestyle. So I can say that Manit Day, Manit Week is really one of the important events in our life as a Marshallese. I will end my description of Manit Day of saying this. I listened to one of my elder. It's like how many years ago I did a oral history, and one of the elder talk about how we Marshallese be on Marshallese time, and she told me that it was a Manit too, because we in American we use time as important time, but Marshallese custom we use that event, how important the event is. For example, if there is a funeral and they say it's 10 o'clock, we cannot go with the time because we have to wait for certain people like the pastor, our chief, the family member. We cannot start until they're at the funeral. So that's how we Marshallese time. We define time as the importance of the event, but not the time of it.
Okay, Albious, you also mentioned something there about time. I know a lot of people are kind of familiar with island time now. So is it, as someone that grew up in the States as well, it's just a yes or no question before I give it to the other panelists. Is it difficult to keep time here in the States for
Yes,
Marshallese?
of course, yes.
Okay, thank you. As we all can see. So, Dr. Sheldon, I want to hear your perspective of Manit Day. What does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, well, everyone, I think for me, Manit, just like Albious and Eldon had mentioned, it basically gets to the roots. It's the foundation of who we are. So if you have the Marshallese Manit, regardless of what state you go to, and you see them act, you see them talk, you see them prepare the food, you already know that they're Marshallese. Because our Manit, our custom is very unique. And coming from the islands where most people don't know who we are, and coming to a large country like the United States and here in Arkansas, you can tell who is Marshallese just based on even their walking, right? I tell people all the time, Marshallese people are the coolest people in the world because we don't walk fast. We stroll through life, right? We're the coolest people there are. And then if somebody comes and walks past you, you're like, oh, you know, they're not Marshallese guys. They're running from something or they're running to something. Us, we just stroll through life. And, you know, I think, you know, that's our Manit. And you see that, you know, we love to give things. We're very grateful people. And regardless of who you are, we may just meet you today, but you become our best friend. And we're so grateful for that time that we'll give you something, a gift from our hair, from our clothes, from our pocket, from our home. And I think that's what makes me are we God-fearing people, but we love people that we're all over. And the foundation for us is not just the Manit, but it's also the family. The family is the roots of everything that we do. We have to take care of the family before we take care of ourselves first. And that's, for me, you know, that's unique in many other places that I know of. So, you know, it has a lot of significance, but Marshallese Manit is exactly that for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sheldon Triglum. So I'm going to move on to the next question. I'm going to ask you, Benedict. Of course, back home, the Marshall Islands, you know, it's a country with a population of 58,000 plus, you know, people that live in the islands, covering about 29 different atolls, different islands. So I want to ask you to kind of describe, you know, from stories that you've heard and you know, experiences that you've had about the Marshall Islands. Can you kind of draw us a picture that way we can, you know, have that feel of the Marshall Islands? What is it like? Can you describe the Marshall Islands to us, please?
Thank you, Paul. Would like to add on to what my colleagues here have also said. Would like to acknowledge our Heavenly Father for the opportunity to be here this evening, to share about our culture, history as well. And to the question, how would I describe the Marshall Islands? Well, I moved from the islands here to the States in 2001, but I think some of the memories that I could remember is, one, going every weekend or so with my paternal grandfather to fish. It was one of our favorite hobbies. And then also stargazing. Every time we'd take our table outside and just lie on the table and just look up at the sky and just to enjoy the view. But other than just the sight, you know, the people, they're friendly. You know, you're treated like a family, basically. That's how I would describe.
Okay, thank you very much, Benedict. So anybody else, you know, let's ask the two gentlemen that actually grew up in the islands. You know, can one of you guys describe, you know, the Marshall Islands to us? Kind of paint us a picture of your experiences being there.
Okay. Paul, thank you again. Growing up in the Marshall Islands, I was raised on Albious Atoll. It's one of the outer islands of the Marshall Islands. I was raised there until I was going on 5th grade when I came to the capital. Growing up on Jalowitz, first, Jalowitz didn't have any power. No lights, no cars. We had one island, one teacher for the whole island. And I believe there were maybe 20-some students. And one teacher, one classroom like this. And the teacher was my mom. And she separated all the students in there, all the 7th graders here, 8th graders here. And sometimes a grade would be just one person. But I remember growing up, and it was fun. We'd go there and we'd play all day in that building. She'd let us collect rocks and count them. But it was really a lot of fun. And my adopted dad, he was a cook for the school. So he'd cook our lunch. But all day, that's what we do. It was very, very fun time. Then I moved to Nijeri, the capital. And that's where the cars are all at. That's where the lights are all at. And it was a big change for me. But still, I remember living there and growing up there. It was also fun. You would wake up every day, and the whole island was like was your playground. You knew all the kids in all the neighborhoods. And I remember me and my friends, we'd play starting from our neighborhood, and we'd play all the way to the end of the island and come back. And we'd spend all day, and sometimes we'd end up in the evening at some other people's house, and they'd feed us. It's like everybody know everybody. And even the police, the cops, they know everybody. They know all the kids. And I remember that because there was a game. It was a fun game for us. There was a curfew time. At 10 p.m., the siren would go off on the island. All the kids, everyone under 18, got to go inside the house. And me and my friends, we were all young kids trying to have fun. And we knew all the cops. We knew the cops. We would outrun them anytime. So we would intentionally wait for them. They would pull up and say, "Hey, kids, didn't you hear the siren?" And we're like, "What are you going to do about it?" But they would chase us all night. And they'd say, "Oh, I'll tell your dad tomorrow." But that was the islands, growing up in an island, and everybody was your uncle. And I remember I went back after 20 years. I went back to my whole neighborhood and whole new people. And I heard what they told me was, everybody here have moved to America. And all the people there have moved from the outer islands, and they're living here now. But right now I went back home, and there's so many foreigners. There's so many Chinese, people from other countries. It's not the Marshall Islands that I grew up in, for sure.
Dr. Rickland, you want to share a little bit about your experience?
Sure. So I was born on Ibai in Kwajalein, and Ibai is like a small island which is not more than a mile long. So it's quite condensed. So everybody knows everybody else. But I was raised on Nijeri Atoll, the capital city. But I think, the author, Robert Louis Stevenson, described the islands best when he called them the pearls of the Pacific. And, if you just think of this cloth as the vast blue Pacific Ocean, and you got all these shells, it's like somebody just gonna drop all these pebbles in the Pacific Islands. In the Pacific Ocean. That's where the Marshall Islands is. It's beautiful, it's nice and breezy, it's cool, everybody is so cool. Everybody, nobody's in a rush. But everybody knows everybody else. And like the Consul General says, everybody takes care of everybody else. So your family takes care of my family like their family takes care of the other people's families. So it's like one big happy family. And island foods, as Albious talked about, but we love seafood. We have a lot of fish and, sashimi and clams, and we have breadfruits and pandanus and coconuts and.
You can stop it now.
Okay, yeah, I know. I think my stomach is rumbling, but we have great island foods, and we have all these feasts and parties. It's all about getting together. It's all about the groupings. It's never about the individual. It's all about the group, people getting together and doing things wrong. But it's a beautiful country, and if you get a chance, you should visit it after the pandemic is over.
It makes me laugh because you guys are telling us stories about your experiences, and I'm like over here, I'm like, wow, I should have been there. I want to go back, things like that. But now I want to ask Albious, why Arkansas? Arkansas. Nothing's wrong with Arkansas. Definitely nothing's wrong with Arkansas. But, why Arkansas?
Why Arkansas? Chicken and rice. It's funny thing, but I think Arkansas produces the large rice in the world. And also chicken is in our backyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before we moved here, there was like two options. either go to Guam or go to Arkansas. And when I was little, I lived in Ibai. It was one of the main atoll or center, we call it center. Born in Namrik and moved to Ibai and went to school there. And every time we talk about America, we talk about the movie. And I was like excited. I'm going to America. And if you ask Marshallese, why you go to Arkansas? They will say, for a better education and for a better life. Not that we don't have a good life back in the island, because everything is free if you live in the other island. But it's crowded now. With those small island we have, it's really very crowded. And if you ask me now, was your parent tradition was a good one? I could say yes. Even though when I came here, first time I came here, land in Vayville, Arkansas, when the airport was here, I was like, this is not the American I was told it was going to be. I want to go back. Because everything is different than the movie I watch all the time. And when I came here, the reason why we came here is because my cousin was here. And word of mouth. So he told us that Arkansas had affordable everything to raise a family. Go to school is good. The rent was good. If you come and find a job at the poultry, you will, even though you don't have any experience, working experience, they will hire you right away. So word of mouth, my dad came. 2 months later, my mom and 2 of my siblings, we came along with my 2 months later. So if you ask me, what was the reason my parents could say better education and better future for us, the younger generation? And I think if you ask most of the Marshallese family moving to Arkansas, that could be the number one answer is better education and better future for the little kid. And if you the few families that arrived in Arkansas, Rhoda was maybe the first one. She was in Arkansas, but after I think it was 97, that's when a lot of us Marshallese came here. Because even in the school, we know who you are. Everybody know who you are. Then we went to middle school and junior high and high school. That's when everything is new. You don't know anybody. You know only few people. But when you was in elementary school and middle school, you know everybody. Because that was when few people came. And then when it was high school, a lot of people came. And if you ask a lot of Marshallese family, this will say education. This because when there was a lot of kids came here with family member, says to get a better education. And I think it's still happening right now. Their parent is back at home at the island, but the kids are here to get a live with family member. And if you ask me why Arkansas, God, maybe this is the promised land. Every time I make a joke, Arkansas, because there's rising chicken.
Thank you very much, Albious. So I'm gonna circle back into Benedict real quick. You know, you've done a lot of presentations on the nuclear testing and everything. So, as we know, between 1946 and to about 1958, the Marshall Islands served as a nuclear testing site for the United States during that time. So, about 67 nuclear weapons were tested. So, can you talk about the impact that this has had on the Marshallese community both then and now? And what were the physical emotions and beyond that, the generational impact of the nuclear testing on the Marshallese communities living there?
So prior to the Compact of Free Association, which was signed in 1986, we were under an agreement called the U.S. Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, which was established in 1947. And under that agreement, it paved the way for the United States to basically utilize the Marshall Islands to test 67 nuclear weapons, which is equivalent to about 7,200 Hiroshima bombs. And on March 1st, 1954, the U.S. detonated their largest and most powerful weapon, codenamed Castle Bravo, which was detonated on Bikini Atoll, one of the two testing sites in the Marshalls. And so after the detonation, there was fallout on a nearby community on Rongola Atoll, one of the northern islands in the Marshalls, and the community there thought it was snow. They thought that it was the fallout was snow, and so kids were playing in it. People actually ate it, and so shortly after, the locals on that island experienced, health problems such as their hair started falling out, skin burns. Women gave birth to babies with no eyes, ears, legs, other body parts. And then the population, we've also experienced other health problems, which, our doctor here can also talk more about. But we also have one of the highest rates of diabetes in the world. And this has to do with the destruction of our lands and the dependence on food from the outside world. Unhealthy food such as spam, canned food basically, rice. And so, oops. And so really that shifted our diet I depended on for almost 4,000 years, a healthy diet, to something that's now killing us. I mean, prior to 1946, our ancestors lived to their hundreds. Marshallese are dying young. And these are the use of nuclear weapons. And that's why my work is to continue educating the public about the impact of these weapons on my community and also other frontline communities that are still experiencing them. And we have yet to see nuclear justice. I think circling back to I don't know if we talked about the compact yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're going to talk about that.
But I'll leave this part to that. But that's my take on the impact of nuclear weapons on our community.
Okay, thank you very much, Benedict. I know you mentioned about the Compact of Free Association, but before we talk about that, I want to give a chance for Dr. Rick Long to share his SharePoint on the physical and the health side of the effects from the atomic bombing.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Benedict. This is the first time that I've heard Benedict speak like this for some time, and you got all the and definitely, the nuclear weapons testing program in the islands was quite devastating. And not just at that time, but to this day. And if you can only imagine, I mean, they're still doing nuclear weapon testing in the islands, or they're actually sending missiles from Vandenberg, California to Kwaj. They're still testing it to Kwajalein Atoll and trying to kind of, if you don't know yet, basically the Marshall Islands or Kwajalein is basically this virtual fence of the U.S. in the Pacific between the continental U.S. and Asia, right, and China and Korea and all those places. So many of the testing that was done there definitely destroyed the homes. Islands disappeared. Contaminated. That's why we got all these canned foods. That's why most of us now love Spam and canned tuna and all these canned things that, come into that. And that definitely, some of the effects that he talked about, whether it's cancers, whether it's thyroid, whether it's leukemia, whether it's jellyfish babies, those are, most of us know about cancers from radiation, right? But, diabetes and hypertension and heart disease, you can also kind of account for that indirectly, because when you destroy the culture, you destroy the way of living, you destroy the places that we used to eat and the food that we used to eat, and replace them with the unhealthy diet, that's what happens. Then you will see all these folks with diabetes and blood pressure and heart disease and all those. So one of the main reasons that we travel out of the islands is healthcare, besides education and besides, finding employment, is healthcare, because we don't have a good infrastructure back in the islands. So many of the folks that come here, even to Northwest Arkansas, come with the same disease burdens, come with the same chronic conditions. So we try to address those here. So, those are just some of the examples as far as many other medical conditions. But if you also think backwards as well too, it also has some mental conditions that is associated with it too. And so the traumatic history of the islands get transferred with the folks who go to different places, and it was just a bad, devastating impact from the nuclear weapons testing in the islands.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ricklon. Honorable Consulate, I'm going to ask you this. You know a lot more. You know a lot of information about the atomic bombing, the nuclear testing, and all that. So can you tie that into the Compact of Free Association? Tell us, what that is, and just explain to us, how the relationship between it and the Marshallese communities.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I want to add a little bit more to what we talked about earlier about the effect of nuclear to our people. For me, I think the biggest impact is that we lost a culture, a God-given talent. For example, those people from Bikini and Eniwetok, they were some of the all that in the air. So for me, that's the biggest impact. It's the Marshallese culture. It's the way of living that we're taught. I was blown away with the atomic bomb. But to with the Compact of Free Association, a lot of people think that it's the Compact of Free Association is there because of the nuclear testing that happened, and that it probably is so. You could probably make an argument that the Americans are feeling sorry for us for what they did, and they're giving us a Compact of Free Association. But in any ways, it is what it is. It's a treaty between both countries, and it's a treaty that we give something for the U.S. and the U.S. gives something back for us. We give them freedom to use our land and air, and then they give us freedom to come to the States and look for work and look for opportunities. But for me, that's not always a smooth transition. It's both parties. Well, for me, I always think that the Americans never do their side of the bargain. For example, they tell us to come to the States. Hey, it's all open for you guys to come over here, but then they fail to notify people in their state offices that, hey, we have some Marshallese people for driver's license, help them. So a lot of our Marshallese, they come over here and they try to do all these things, and they face all these obstacles. And I was brought here to call the offices and complain, and so that's been what I've been doing all the time. It's trying to find solutions, and all these things were written in the compact, majority of them. but nobody knows about it. And a lot of time I get this compact, what? I'm calling a government official, and hey, we have a compact of free association. Excuse me, compact what? So for me, I just wish the Americans would, sign this treaty. Here's what you guys do. And then turn around and tell everybody, hey, please welcome our people. Tell them this is what we did to them. But I feel that we come here and we do that for us. If we don't do that, yell and say, hey, people are here. Hey, people are getting sick. If we don't say all that, nobody will listen. It's only few. So for me, that's the compact. It's a nice treaty, but it's got a lot of work to do. For me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your honesty. And so, Albious, I know you want to add something into that, and then after that we'll go to Benedict, and then we're going to go on to our final question of the night. Where we have about 20 minutes left. So, go ahead, Albious.
Komolbol. These are good topics about the compact. I think they negotiated the compact 1 and compact 2, 3. There was not a lot of Marshallese in the U.S. But I think with the new compact they are working on, I think it will be real important for the community to take part in it. Meaning you, as a community member, to voice also and the community as well to take part. I'm gonna tell a little story about the I-94. Been helping with that many years now, and there was a time we went there and we did have a problem with the supervisor there. She was the real boss, and we called Eldon and her back and forth on the phone for how many hours? 9 hours. 9 hours. We was there, hungry, wanted to go to the restroom, but she did not let us go. It was like 12 of us, and it was really something new to me, because she did not know anything about the Marshallese, even though she was really Iraq. She came from her office and said, we fraud our passport, fraud everything, even though he yelled at our consulate. It was funny, but it was really upset to many of us, because she said we was gonna deport, and we was like, deport to where? Because we're Marshallese. She even called Washington DC. They went back and forth for 8 hours just to talk about the comeback. Just imagine that you were there, nothing to eat. They cannot let you go to the restroom. And that was like 1 year ago. And it's really upset me, because even this comeback of free association, there's still a lot of work to do. And I was glad because I got his number. But just imagine how many Marshallese going through this, going to the I-94. Just go to the border, just piece of paper to get that piece of paper. If you lost that piece of paper, you have to have it to work. So one option is cross the border or pay $500, $400 and wait like almost a year for it. If you don't have that paper, you cannot work in the U.S. So imagine that. Letting you go to the restroom. But we was glad that we called our consul and he was there to work his weekend off just to talk to that lady. Just imagine it was you to that new island, and even though they have that comeback of free association. And I think the new comeback is, I think we need to step it up as a community member to talk to our representative to also voice all these concerns. that we have. Because there's a lot of issue that we, as a Marshallese, face. Even though we have this unique comeback. So that's what I'm gonna say for now, but there's a lot more into it. Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty, Albious. Benedict, is there anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think Consul General and Albious, as well as our doctor, they mentioned the pros and cons of the Compact of Free Association. And as Albious mentioned, it is important that even the Marshallese community, the Marshallese diaspora here in the States and elsewhere, they need to participate in these Compact talks. Because at the end of the day, the Compact impacts all of us. And, there's still a lot of issues, as they mentioned, that have yet to be addressed. And then, of course, working closely with our elected officials here in the States, also on Capitol Hill, to address these issues together. And then my point a while ago about, we have yet to see nuclear justice. Again, we're still experiencing a lot of these health issues that, our people will experience for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, because the radiation there, cesium, those will be there for thousands of years. And so really, what we'd like to see is a Compact of Free Association that will address a lot of the issues that happened in the past. When I first started learning about the Compact of Free Association, I was taught that it stems from the nuclear legacy. And in order to really address these problems, we need to go back to the past and address those issues so that we can move forward together. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Benedict. So it brings us to another topic, that kind of ties into also the compact and also the nuclear testing. Based on an article earlier this year, and this question, I'm going to start off with Dr. Ricklon, and then I'm going to give you every single one of you guys a time to share before we open it up for questions. So based on an article this year, COVID-19 disparities among the Marshallese Pacific Islands. Marshallese communities accounted for 19% of COVID-19 cases in Washington and Benton counties, even though they make up 1.5% to 3% of the population of those counties. We know these stats, but can you talk to us about the impact that COVID has on the community, physically, emotionally, and beyond?
Yeah, I think, those stats, really highlights and focuses the disparities that, we face. And, there's different reasons behind that. I mean, besides, you've heard some of the chronic conditions that we all have, but also there was the issue with access to healthcare, which was either lack of or limited access. And then, of course, there's the issue with, in-language services that, many of us got impacted on. And Albious was talking about the poultry plants, so our poultry workers and all these other Marshallese who are essential workers, where you cannot just stay home when there's a pandemic, because you got to feed the world, and, you got to do your job. So there's all these different impacts that, that affects the family. And if you think about it, if you're the one who need to decide if you're going to go to work, make money and come and feed your family and pay for those bills. If you're sick, do you stay home or do you go to work? Do you chancellor or do you not? Definitely is, it's a very hard decision for one to make. But with our Manit, with our culture, you're also talking about family, and and the counselor talked about the clan, right? We're also interconnected. So any loss of any person in our community affects the whole community, because we all know each other. We have 8 to 5 jobs, but once we go home, we're still part of our community. So we may work for our community in our places of work, but we still socialize with them. So all of us knows everybody else. Many of us are part of the same clan. So the fresh graves at the grave site affects all of us because we know who that person was. In our culture, we're supposed to be in groups. We're supposed to be there during the ilomage, during the funerals or the burials. And yet, we had to sometimes go against our manit and say, don't be in group, which is for us, is Jaya Manit, like Albious was talking about. So difficult decisions to make, but at the same time, our manit is also to take care of the family, to take care of our kids, to take care of the elders. So we tell them, don't go to these places because you need to take care of your family at home too. Okay, so everything kind of revolves around the manit as well too. But the pandemic definitely has impacted all of us, but at the same time, because of our manit, we're so together, we're so resilient. We've been traditional navigators of that vast Pacific Ocean that we find ways to navigate it. And because we're all related, sometimes we work apart, but also we come together and work together to address the needs, whether it's in healthcare, getting them tested, getting vaccinated, feeding them, paying for the bills, or connecting the resources. Those are different things, but for us, it's naturally what we do. We're Marshallese, we take of others. So there's all these negative impacts that this pandemic has done, but I think there's also these positive impacts as well. I think many of the challenges that we've faced over the years got highlighted during this pandemic. Many of these clinics, hospitals, places like, oh, we need a Marshallese person. Oh, we need a Marshallese. Oh, we need something with the Marshallese. We need a Marshallese contact tracer, CHW. And things started happening. So now at least we got some of those things in place, but that's just the beginning. And as long as we continue to work together, I think we're going to make some changes. Come on.
So if any of you guys want to, feel free to share.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead. There's no doubt COVID-19 has really affected the Marshallese community, especially here in Arkansas. I think our community was in the news a lot last summer, and it was no doubt it was one of the hardest moments in my life. And I'm going to allude to what Dr. Triglum said about COVID-19 highlighting all these disparities and gaps in our community. And for me, that's what I like about COVID-19. I don't like that all of my friends passed, but I like the fact that it brought all these gaps out, and it also brought a sense of community. We were able to form a task force and bring health officials, bring people from government, from Springdale School District, from the library, from all the hospitals, and everybody was able to come together and talk about the issues that we were facing. And different languages, different backgrounds, but we were able to come together and solve a problem. And for me, that's a very, very good thing. And to see this community come together as one. And it's something that I've always wished for, I've always hoped for, and it happened during COVID. But I did lost a lot of friends and family members during COVID time. And sometimes I look at my friends and I think deaths. At one time in July, I think it was in July last year, we had 33 deaths. We had like one death every day, and it's like going to war. And I remember at one moment I observed the Marshallese at the gravesite, and it wasn't like before. People weren't at mourning anymore. We were just going there like it's a gathering. People just go there and talk, and we bury people. But funerals for us is a very, very sacred event. It's an event that nobody talks. Everybody go there and quiet and just But, after so many deaths, I looked around and it's like a normal thing now. So it's a sad thing, but it is what it is. But I just hope just for the sake of the community, I just hope that we all can see what all these gaps and disparities that COVID is showing us. And I hope that we all can work together, like Dr. Riglum said, work together as one community and address all these issues that we're facing. And I think God intentionally brought COVID for us so we can all solve the problems that we are facing. One more, thank you.
Thank you. Albious and Benedict, you guys want to add on before we go ahead and open it up for questions?
COVID-19. Every time I say this, because Medicare was the biggest obstacle I could say. If it was reinstated before the COVID, I think it could save a lot of our Marshallese that already passed away. And it was a tough time, one that we will not forget. And we learned, and I think the community learned a lot from it.
I would say that I think some of us knew how devastating it would be, but I think we were not prepared physically and emotionally for the after effect of, seeing so many family and friends, die. What was it? Really made me proud was that at the center of it all was our culture. The cultural values of love, respect, and kindness that brought so many community leaders and members together to work together to try to help families in need, families who are quarantining. I understand that, we had food drive, I think, food distribution almost every week. And I know that many families were grateful for what, folks like Consul General Dr. Riglum and Albious and other community leaders who came together to do so many things for the community. Because the pandemic really was something that, again, we were not physically and emotionally prepared for. But I think our culture really prepared us to come together and work together.
Go ahead and open up to the public. We're going into about 20 minutes of Q&A. So for those of you that have a question, all you got to do is just lift your hands, and we have Diana here going around with the microphone. If you have any questions for any of the panelists or just whoever, if you have someone that you want to ask directly to, you can go ahead and just say their names, and they'll be able to answer your question.
My question is in regard to the free association and the nuclear bombing. Maybe not as much. Clearly, there's, as Benedict said, there's political bridges that need to be rebuilt, but I'm interested just in the name of reparations personally from the white community to the Marshallese community. What are steps that Arkansas people, Springdalites, Fayettevilleite who know the Marshallese community, what can we do to relationally start building bridges of trust again?
Okay, I think I'll go first. I think everybody will. I think what we need to do is continue to work together as a community, and meaning, we've always talked about working together, something that everybody says, but really, really work together. And what I mean is, you know, when there's like an event going on, you know, come and ask the Marshallese community, hey, what do you guys think? Should we run this event like this? Because, you know, everybody's different. You know, people, you know, when you have public events, some of the events, you know, Marshallese, probably they don't like it, or it does not fit with how we live. And that's what I mean, you know, just by communicating with us, get us involved in all the plannings, and that's how you get to know us. And for Marshallese, we're very reserved. Like we want, when we come to our room, we won't be speaking. You know, we like to get familiarized with someone first before we open up to them. And I think that's probably one of the challenges that's facing us right now. Come to live in this society in the U.S. is over here you have to be aggressive, you have to be a gopher, but Marshallese are not. We are someone that will let you go first. You know, we'd rather you go first than I'll go next. And sometimes, you know, in classrooms we don't speak, and sometimes they think that we're not smart, but we don't speak. Sometimes we want to ask questions, but we don't ask it. And it's just the way we are, and that's all Marshallese are. And sometimes it's anti-American. But I think for us to work together as a community is you need to invite us more to your events, and you need to cater your events more to the Marshallese people. Like for example, you do concert at the park. A lot of them are American music, so a lot of Marshallese don't go there. You know, if you want to get Marshallese involved, put some Marshallese band up there every now and then. Stuff like that. Thank you.
I also want to piggyback on what Consul General said earlier. He said, you know, because, you know, just going from your question, trust is a big thing. And, you know, that trust has been broken many, many years ago. And, you know, we do have people that stand up, you know, for ourselves, for our people. But, hello, we didn't cause the problem here. Why are we standing up for ourselves? Why can't someone just be like, hey, I see, I mean, but why can't someone just say, hey, we did this to them, why don't we help them? I know a lot of people help out, but like I'm talking about in a higher level in government. And again, to piggyback on what he said, we hate to be left out. We're just like the new kid on the block that no one wants to talk to. And that, if there's no other way to put it, that sucks. So, yeah. Anybody else want to jump in?
Just want to piggyback also on that, and you know, I think Arkansas, for us, we're blessed.
Yeah.
You know, I think
definitely.
we're probably ahead in terms of the relations with the Marshallese or the folks from the compact nations than other states, maybe not so above Hawaii, because you know they know us very well. So I think, you know, if you want to build that relationship and gonna help us on those aspects, you know, some of the real concrete things you can do is actually talk with your legislators. I think right now, you know, even though the restoration of Medicaid to the Marshallese and other compact nation residents was approved in December of last year, it's still a very hard process, even in Arkansas. And some of it had to do with the system. Some of it has to do with human resources. So I think, you know, if you want to do something, you know, talk with the state representatives and see how they can help smooth that thing out. Because even though it's approved, we're still having limited access because people are not eligible yet, or they're still pending for the last 3 months or so. In terms of national things, you know, talk with the congressional representatives, you know, anything that we can have them help us in the federal government, especially with the upcoming compact negotiations. Not forgetting that there is a large Marshallese population on the continental U.S. So we love our islands, but we also love our people who are here in the States. So we also need to also have them have a voice as well too. So anything that you can do on that aspect, but I think compared to other states, I think we're blessed to have Arkansas always supporting us.
Go Arkansas.
Go Arkansas. And there's a reason why I said the community need to take part on this. My dad always said, if you want to get something done, bring a Caucasian with you. And I know because all my work, Clint and other community member, I always say, can you? Because they wouldn't. During my work at Tyson for how many years? He always never quit. If they say he cannot get his vacation, even though it's his vacation time, he always said, I'm gonna go to the Tyson headquarters. And we always go there. And boom, approved next day. And he always said, if you want to get something done, look for a Caucasian and the thing will be done. And I'm not kidding. If you want something changed in the combat, please take part in it. Don't wait, because time is the limit. But if you want to get something done for us and willing to help us, I think that's the only option is the community force. Thank you.
I think, yeah, in terms of the compact and reparations, I think in addition to everything that my colleague said, at the federal level, you know, the U.S. needs to officially recognize the devastating history that they basically conducted in the Marshall Islands. And then release all of the declassified and redacted documents that we've been asking for decades. Because there is no closure without full disclosure. I don't understand how the first compact was signed, despite the fact that there's so much information back then that our leaders, our ancestors, our grandparents didn't have access to. And so hopefully this time around, with what these gentlemen have said, and working with the American public, you know, hopefully that will come about with a better compact-free association that will not only address the issues that we're facing here in the States, but also the issues of nuclear testing, the health issues that we've inherited. Amor.
Anybody else have a question?
We can take maybe one or two other questions just because we do have a special treat at the end.
We have one over there. Right there.
I probably don't From the teacher's perspective, because I look around and I see a lot of educators in Northwest Arkansas, I know that we do as much as we can to serve all of our students, and many of the teachers are ESL teachers who specifically work with students such as those who come from the Marshall Islands. I wonder, selfishly, if there is anything that that is geared specifically toward educators, counselors, administrators at the building level so that we can more effectively support our students and their families.
I think I'll go ahead and answer that. So we do provide classes to educate the community, the non-Marshallese community, you know, basically what we're doing today, you know, talking about our history and culture and the challenges that we face. And so we provide classes that would do that so that we can so that non-Marshallese and the Marshallese, you know, families and students can better work together, basically. And so, you know, we provide those classes. I think April, back there, April Brown, she's the president of our board. Also Carl is the director. If you want more information, you know, please get with them, talk to them about that.
We'll go ahead and take one more question. Well, I guess just want to say thank you everyone for coming out, I guess. Okay, we have one right here.
Well, I just would love to hear you guys tell what you just really are most proud of in the Marshallese community right now, since you're celebrating the culture this week. Just what comes top to mind to that question?
I'll go first. What I'm most proud of as a Marshallese is the fact that I think that we are very respectful. It's in our culture. I think it's top of our culture. Our Manit is being respectful, respect for others, and you know you will see in our official meetings of the legislator, all our government, everything, everywhere. We always acknowledge others, and we always put others first before us, and that's Marshallese for me. Serving others, and you know, not competitive, but just being a friend, and just supportive, and that's what I wish for the Marshallese community here, to help one another and work together as a community. If we want to say we're Marshallese and we're proud of our community, let's act like it, you know, and then just come and talk about it, but let's act like it. Be together as one community. Thank you.
Just gonna add to Council's remarks. You know, I think for me, I'm proud, especially this week, because, you know, Marshallese, we still practice our culture and customs. I mean, and would have thunk it in Arkansas, right? And, you know, so I think that's what I'm so proud of. I mean, seeing these Marshallese antigraphs, hearing Marshallese music, going to Marshallese funerals or burials or weddings or churches. I mean, 40 plus churches of Marshallese in Arkansas. So then, you know, we're still, I think part of the reason that we love it so much here is because we're doing what we do because we are who we are, right? We're very comfortable. We love Arkansas because, you know, we can practice who we are, you know, and that's being the Marshallese custom. Come on.
Yeah, all the churches here. I mean, this is the Bible Belt. So the Marshallese fit right here. I mean, I believe that we are like total opposite of you guys. Just symmetry. You know, I think Marshallese and Arkansas, we are all God-fearing people. We family-loving people. We love to raise our families. And these are the values that we Marshallese cherish. And I think this is what we see here. And, you know, despite everything that's going on, I want to really say that I'm really proud of the community here, the Marshallese that are living here, and the people that are living here with the Marshallese. Of course, there are some challenges, but overall, with all the Marshallese communities in the States, I think Arkansas is the place that they're the kindest to the Marshallese. And I say that with the honest truth.
This week, it's, you know, it's big because, you know, we are very comfortable here in Arkansas, and for all of you Arkansans, have two students that actually got a scholarship to go play some sports in college, on the next level. So that's definitely something to brag about. I'm definitely proud of them, and I want to recognize them, from a perspective of someone that works with a lot of youth. So yeah.
Yeah, so like Paul, Consul General, Dr. Riggling, I too am proud of my culture. If it were not for my cultural identity, I wouldn't be here today, or where I am right now. Because the cultural values that I mentioned, those sparked the passion in me to serve the community. And so I'm very blessed.
Well, guys, just want to say thank you for everyone. Hey, can we give a clap off or a round of applause for the panel? They did an amazing job. Did you want to say something? I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you guys very much. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and give this time to Diane, our columnist.
And then to answer your questions, I know we all, sorry if they're all men, but to answer your question about what we are proud of, Arkansas was the least place that I wanted to live in. I'm being honest here. It's just because, like all they said, news travel faster with your mouth with the Marshallese community is like that. And so there were so many issues and many things that we normally Marshallese don't do that were rising here in Arkansas. And so when I came here 10 years ago, it was all because we do not understand each other, the culture, the values that you guys have and the values that we have. Everything they talk about is values, friendship, trust, and family, which is the community, your family, everything else. And so when we see what you guys don't understand, what we do, why we do it, that's also a barrier. Because we did not think from your perspective of what time is, what school is, because we do value school. We do value work. But the motivation, and I guess the treatment that we had from others wasn't there yet. And so we come a long way, and we are very proud of that we have friends now who do understand us and try to Arkansas? Yay! Good, thank you. But I just want to say that. And also I wanted to I'm very, very happy and honored that all the panelists are here and to participate in this event that we had. And I wanted to thank you, Paul, for being the moderator today. He's always my get-to person because of his personality. So every event that I always go to Paul because he's easy to communicate and he understands because he was born an Islander, but he's an American. And I was born and raised an Islander, so we need that brain. And I just want to say thank you each and for the Honorable General Consul General, and then our Dr. Riggling, and then Benedict and Albious. They do tremendous work in our community, so I couldn't be prouder. And this is why I'm proud of my community. Here.
I'm going to go a little bit off script, and I think I'm going to ask everyone if we could just take a moment of silence to honor the lives that have passed, but also to honor and celebrate the Marshallese community. So we're going to take a minute to just have a moment of silence. Thank you to Paul and all of our panelists for participating today in our Manit Day panel discussion, and thank you to Marshallese Educational Initiative for partnering with us on both programs in celebration of the Marshallese community. Thank you to our viewers at home for logging on, and thank you to our in-person participants. For the participants that are here with us today, I have placed a program evaluation there at your chair. We please encourage you to fill it out and provide us feedback on today's library program. And for those who are watching us from home, if you'd like to provide feedback or suggest a program, please email us at questions@faylib.org. And now I'm actually going to pass it on to Paul. Well, actually, General Consul Eldon, I'll pass it on to you. So.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, I guess on behalf of the panel up here and the Marshallese that are involved in the program today, I would like to thank in Fayetteville Public Library. Diana, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming for tonight's event. Thank you very much. And I just want to mention one thing. Right now that we are holding this event, they're having a funeral in the Marshall Islands for one of our paramount chief in the Marshall Islands. He just passed away of natural causes. But it just happened that they're doing it right now, and we're doing it here. So thank you guys. And oh yeah, Marshallese, we're not Marshallese if we don't sing, so we're going to sing a song for you guys. And may I ask all the other Marshallese in the audience to come and join us, please.
Before we depart, just want to explain what the words of the song really shares. So it says, even though we are afar from our islands, is Karabat Chuaninian, Ian Arawujipendo, this is a gathering. This is a gathering that we are here together. Karabat Chuanin Island, Island in. So it's like this is a foreign land that we're together. Mengarada Chatola Jin Lamoran. Achis Beriberiwat Yon Manadinar. Although we are far away from our motherland, but we still hold our customs and our culture. So thank you guys very much. Blessings.